Good morning, fellow science fiction and movie fans. In my continuing series on 1970s dystopian science fiction movies, we come to one of the most frightening and interesting of all of them, 1971's The Andromeda Strain, directed by the great Robert Wise, who gave us everything from West Side Story and The Sound of Music to great film noirs like Born to Kill with Lawrence Tierney, The Setup with Robert Ryan, and I Want to Live with Henry Fonda. Um, Also, Star Trek The Motion Picture, and the best 1950s science fiction movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still. It was based on a novel by Michael Crichton of the same name, and this screenplay was by Nelson Gidding, who worked with Wise on a couple of other screenplays as well, and produced by Universal Pictures. The main stars are Arthur Hill as Dr. Jeremy Stone, James Olsen as Dr. Mark Hall, a surgeon, Charles David Wayne as Dr. Charles Dutton, a virologist, and Kate Reed as Dr. Ruth Levitt, a biological researcher. And it takes place in a fictional top secret lab called Wildfire, which is beneath an agricultural station in Nevada. And there's a secret elevator that takes you down in there, which I thought was kind of a little bit James Bond, but very interesting. And the story is a very intriguing one. It asks the question, what if we are contacted by alien life, but not necessarily sentient life, but by a virus or a bacteria that's brought back by a space probe? And the space probe crashes and it lands in a small town in New Mexico, and everybody is killed except a young baby that will not stop crying, and an old man who it turns out is the town drunk is a sterno drinker. And they have to correlate, the scientists, what the similarities are, why these two people didn't die when everybody else did. And so they take them off to, they spirit them off to this lab, and then they also bring back the space probe, which had crashed, and they're going to examine them. The lab is built underground in 5 levels. I should mention the special effects were done by the great Douglas Trumbull, who also did the quote-unquote light trip special effects in Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, and did the special effects and directed Silent Running with Bruce Dern. So he was no stranger to science fiction, and the movie was nominated, but unfortunately not for special effects. It was nominated for Best Set Decoration and for Best Sound Editing, neither of which award it won, unfortunately. It was also nominated in 1972 for a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation, which it did not win either. And that's too bad, because I really think it deserved those awards. It's an interesting and intriguing story of what might happen if, we contacted as I said, a biological life form, but that was not sentient life, but was still life, was a bacteria that was brought back from outer space somewhere. There are indications throughout the movie that this may have been done on purpose, that Dr. Stone, in fact, is working for a top secret biological warfare project that was looking for something like this to use as a weapon against the enemy that would have absolutely no resistance to it. Enemy implied being the Soviet Union, though that's not ever said in the movie. Though this was made at the height of the Cold War, so that's implied. I won't give away the whole plot for those of you who haven't seen it, albeit the movie is 53 years old now, and if you haven't seen it, you should. I did not see this movie in the theater. I saw it on television the first time. I was a bit too young, as I was 12 at the time it came out, so I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it on television, but I remember it very well, and I remember some funny bits in it, like there's a scene where Dr. Levitt is being questioned at the Wildfire Lab, giving routine questions. It asks him, do you have any allergies? She says, ragweed pollen. The computer doesn't understand her response and says, please restate. She says, ragweed pollen, really loud. Then it types ragweed pollen on the screen. I thought that was funny. It was not a funny movie. It's very scary. And it goes into some of the scientific procedures that they would really use to determine what the nature of this bacteria was. Unfortunately, at the time, this probably wasn't thought of as wrong, the way it is now. They used lab animals and deliberately expose them to the virus, which kills them, and then they do autopsies to find out what's going on, how it enters the blood, etc. Eventually, the scientist played by James Olsen, Dr. Mark Hall, figures out that this disease, which is they codename Andromeda, can only live in a very narrow range of blood pH. And I found out, I didn't know, is pH stands for percentage of hydrogen. So it's the percentage of hydrogen in blood. Human pH is generally between 7.31 parts per million and 7.42 parts per million. If it goes above or below that, you're probably going to get sick and you might even die. But the Andromeda strain, as they call it, can't survive outside that very, very narrow blood pH. So they determine this, and they are looking for a way to kill it. And there's a leak in the lab. Well, the lab is equipped with a self-destruct button, device, which is a thermonuclear bomb planted at the bottom of the fifth level. And the only one who could stop it is James Olsen, who has a key that can stop the self-destruction within 5 minutes without giving away the ending. There's a cliffhanger ending, and they finally managed to figure out a way to defeat Andromeda. And then you see Dr. Stone at a Senate subcommittee of a secret space committee. He tells the director of the committee, well, we managed to stop it, but what happens next time? And he says, yeah, that's a good question. What happens next time? And it leaves you on a bit of a cliffhanger. The computer flashes 601, which means it's getting too much information to process at once. Very interesting, very intriguing, very well acted. I don't know why James Olsen didn't become a better actor. The only other film that I know him from is the somewhat wacky comedy Moon Zero 2, where again he did a very good job with what was a very goofy script, but he still managed to come off, give a memorable performance. That movie also stars a very young and very beautiful Catherine Schell, who was referred to as Katharina von Schell at the time. She hadn't changed her name. So if you haven't seen The Andromeda Strain, it's well worth watching. It's very frightening and an interesting, different take on what might happen if humanity contacted alien life.